Just imagine that Jeff Bezos buys an airline.
Very often I say that I think every airline should divide itself into really two different mindsets. Why do you do that? Why can't you just skip certain, why not say, okay, we're not going to adjust this to the green screen. You just have to work in a different environment and embrace the new technology rather. NDC is about cost, it's about control, and it's about content. So
my question is, why doesn't this change?
Yeah, that's a $1 million question, isn't it?
Hi, welcome to Digital Airline, the podcast where we talk about airlines, digital transformation, and e-commerce. My name is Enrique Puig, and today's episode is sponsored by Newshore. Newshore is the e-commerce for airlines. With Newshore, airlines can increase their direct sales, increase their ancillary revenue, and all this in a very simple and agile way. And in today's episode, we talk with Ann Cederhall. Ann Cederhall, she has a big experience in legacy solutions, but she's also working in defining and implementing the new ones. So she's the perfect person to ask her why sometimes it is so hard to make changes, to sell in a different way, to make business in a different way than the traditional, but in a similar way to any e-commerce business of today. And what are you guys doing in order to change that, to make it much easier? And she's going to explain us a lot that will help us to understand why this is happening. Hi everyone. Hi Ann, how you doing?
Doing very well, thank you, Enrique.
And
how
so
are you?
Happy for you to be here. Thanks for joining us today. For the audience, for those who don't know Ann yet, I'd like to make a very brief introduction, and maybe Ann, you can give us your background, right? Ann Cederhall, she's a very good expert on everything that has to do with distribution in the airline industry. And this is something that is changing a lot. Today, hopefully, we'll be able to sort of understand where are we coming from, why everything is sometimes so difficult to achieve, and then where we are heading, right, in this journey, right? And could you tell us a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. Thank you, Enrique, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. Yes, I'm Ann Cederhall. I've worked with distribution for many years. I have a background with several airlines, and I've also worked for an industry body like ATPCO. I worked for Amadeus, I worked for Pros. So I would say that I have a pretty holistic picture of distribution. And I've also worked for network airlines, large ones. I've worked for the Lufthansa Group and actually implemented all the direct connects for them. And I've also worked for low-cost carriers. So
I love this holistic view because I suspect that this is what we need today, right? A holistic view that helps us.
Yes. What we don't need.
Yeah. I want to ask you something that could sound a little bit weird, but just imagine that Jeff Bezos buys an airline. Eventually he will, or probably he already has.
Yeah, he has one. Yeah.
Some airline. But and then he goes for a meeting to all the board of directors, and he says, "Okay, I'm not going to say anything about the operation, just fly the aircraft, safely and cost effective. But let's talk about distribution. I have one or two things to say. Number one, I want to set the price for every of our products to the right price, depending on a lot of things. What the competitors are doing, what the demand is, etc., etc. I want to be able to customize the customer experience, to customize it to the very, very limit. Like I don't want to have one or two or three booking experiences, but I want to have one for every customer that we have. So based on the last purchases, based on the last searches, based on the time of the day, on the IP that that person is using, whatever I want to come with. I want to do one experiment. I want to run one experiment every week because I want to try new things. And I want to have a loyalty club because I want to offer different things, right? And you know what? I also want I want to do it in 1 month. Do you think this guy should be in a trouble or?
Well, you're saying that it's an airline that's been running more or less in the same way for a very long time, right?
Yes.
Yes. But I also want to add that there are airlines out there who are doing what you're describing. There are airlines with the mindset of, who have moved into a world of order, of API to API mentality, and it is
I
possible.
forgot one last demand. I'd like to be able to do one-click shopping. At least one of our products should be.
Yes.
I should be able to buy it with only one click.
Yes, yes. And again, I mean, yes, you need a shopping basket, and of course it's achievable to do a one-click shopping. But for the airline you describe, it's probably it's doable, of course, but it's going to be quite a journey that they embark on.
Okay, that's interesting. So you say some of them could be doing that, but some of them will not. And let's talk about the last one because we don't see that that often, right? Why is that? Why that could be like reasonable things to ask for any e-commerce site, but this is not something that you see so often in our industry. Why does it happen?
I think it's a combination of many things. I mean, historically, of course, as you know, airlines have been, if we go back, let's say 25, 30 years in time and even further, of course, the PSS business, the systems that they were operating and using were, and still are, of course, very complex, very, very expensive. When I can remember when I started in all of this, there was this constant talk about how expensive it was. And actually one mindset, and I always think that the RFPs are a result of this, like airlines typically, they write RFPs that are like 4,000 requirements. And you sort of wonder, that's kind of big. Is that really feasible? Because as you know, things evolve as we move on, right? So, but I think it's the result of thinking that I need to have everything possible, everything that's ever been invented, and everything that ever will be invented, and I need to put them in one scope.
It's sort of the waterfall methodology where you'd have to think about everything because 6 months later you'd have the product that you were looking for, and you have to make sure that everything
is covered and that it's
in opposition to the agile approach, right? Okay, let's do something small and viable, and then let's see which is the direction we take, right?
And I think cost is definitely part of that. And of course, as you know, I mean, the PSS market is very, very well. It's a huge market, but it's very small. It's dominated by very few players, right? Okay. And also traditionally, I think airlines have kind of moved all their business over to the PSSs or the suppliers, right, of PSS. And the PSSs then, of course, offer a variety of different products, and the airlines kind of end up in, buy all of it. We literally outsource everything commercial to another player in the industry, which is very interesting because, first of all, it doesn't typically allow you to move very quickly because you are part of a very big machinery where it takes a very long time. And with this also comes another problem, is that the airlines no longer have the knowledge internally. They've kind of, that knowledge sits with the providers rather than within the airline itself, which is a problem. And then, of course, you've got the airline silo problem, that they work in silos. Oh, here is, the revenue management department, and here is the sales department, and they're definitely in two different silos. And and I think the only, very often I say that I think every airline should divide itself into really two different mindsets. And, one that is operational. And I think this is why airlines are also very traditional, is that they are very safety and operational conscious, and they should be when it comes to the technology of the planes and all of that. Of course, it's safety and operations first. But that mindset shouldn't be brought into their distribution or their commercial approach. They should really try to be, like an Amazon, right? For
Right.
the sales and the commercial piece of it.
So we've seen some of them, right? Because there is this AirAsia Digital,
Yep.
and
Yes.
then you've had also Lufthansa Digital. So is that part of this trend of trying to have these two separate worlds where you have safe operations on one side, but then you have all the dynamics of the e-commerce,
Exactly.
the blending of different types of business.
AirAsia is really, really impressive. Because they think like a marketplace, and a marketplace, of course, is that's a good expression, good terminology for what it is. You have to, should you start venturing into the world of cross-selling and really, for instance, revenue manage your ancillary sales and all that stuff. Of course, you need to have, well, first of all, you need to have one organization that are sort of, very dedicated and have this and focused in, with a business sense.
Okay, yeah. but still, even if we do that, I suspect that in this, long time running airline, we'll be facing, weird concepts, like fair families and electronic miscellaneous ticket and stuff like that, no? And where do all these weird concepts come from? Could you kind of illustrate us a little bit about that?
Well, of course, that is history and the systems, how they were built. I mean, when you look at the ticket, that is, and that is really a shame that we had from the beginning a paper ticket. And actually, it is a condition, it's a contract, right? The conditions, that the passenger contract that is all in a ticket. And I saw a very nice post by Oliver Ranson just yesterday about how, a contract from the shipping, and I think he used Titanic as an example, horrible example, of course, but it actually looks the same as a ticket, like an electronic ticket does today. But I think it was a shame when we changed from paper tickets to electronic tickets that we made it, the same as the paper ticket with its constraints. And I think that's been a problem in the airline industry in general, that we tend to keep everything as is, and then we put lots of stuff on top of it. We never remove anything. We never simplify anything. I mean, when we did create an electronic ticket, why didn't we allow 99 coupons or 150 coupons, or why didn't we sort of think that, why did we have to just transfer the same? So of course all these processes are historical and the way they were, right, when they were on paper. I mean, and even I do actually remember when you had to look up fares in publications.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't make any sense today, right?
No, but of course the systems were, I mean, if you look at ATPCO, for example, that was the system was built to replace the paper. to actually take the big, huge books and actually transfer them into something that was automated. But and of course that is why Atypico fairs look the way they do, because you had it all in compartments and you had to build it according to the technology of that time. And I think we could do with a lot of simplification in general in the industry. But of course, it's and that's another problem. If we look at the GDSs, for example, I think a lot of functionality, when you talk about the EMD, for example, every development in the GDS has always tried to accommodate the green screen at the same time, which is actually very expensive technology to do, because you're sort of almost retrofitting something, right? And it is expensive. And why do you do that? Why can't you just skip certain, why not say, okay, we're not going to adjust this to the green screen. You just have to work in a different environment and embrace the new technology rather. I know it's probably very provocative what I'm saying, but
and let's talk a little bit about economics. What is these legacy systems preventing us to do? Is it about selling more and better, or is it about not being really cost effective in terms of processing, all this activity? What are the economics around this?
It's definitely about selling more. It's no rocket science. Of course, the more ancillary sales that you sell is a huge uptake. You could just look at any report on ancillary sales and those airlines who are really profitable in the space. And Jay Sorensen published a report annually on where you can look at the numbers that are, of course, astronomical when it comes to ancillary sales and the profits. I think one of the problems is, of course, that the airlines' websites don't really allow or enable them to sell what they would like to sell, or anything.
For instance, let me interrupt you here. But for instance, say that again, I'm Jeff Bezos. I'm trying to impersonate him, and I say, okay, I'll have maybe 2,000 references, because there are so many things that I can sell.
Yeah.
Will these legacy systems allow me to do so?
And that is again, it depends on how you work with legacy systems and what you mean by legacy systems. Because again, if you're you need to have a website that and I think it's really critical that you use, you can't use your PSS for this type of functionality. It's just not possible. You need to have systems that can work with the APIs to provide the catalog for you. And again, some airlines do this very well.
And I guess that if I had to bring, like 100 references every week, new references every week, and then delete them because they're not working enough or whatever, I should have like open systems. I should be able to access, like to the whole world workforce, so they can sort of integrate things. That shouldn't be proprietary, right? There should be some sort of standard protocol, so I could.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And of course, it depends on the size of your airline and the partners you choose to work with. Of course, there are companies who specialize in aggregating certain content. You need to be commercially driven as an organization, and you need to be in charge of and in control. What is it that I want to sell? How have I reached this conclusion? What's my vision for the airlines? Anything is possible to sell, but you can't sit around and wait for your PSS is going to take what, if you want to allow for the neck pillow, perhaps that could take 6 to 9 months to wait for that kind of development. Yes.
So there's no way that no.
No, of course not. No.
What I'm understanding from what you're saying is that here we have, a lot of airlines that would like that they're seeing, like how some others e-commerce businesses are doing much better, right?
Yes.
On one hand, on the other hand, this is like a business which is controlled by very few players, but it must be a huge amount of money in terms of revenue around this. You mentioned that most of them are not satisfied with the service they get. So my question is, why doesn't this change?
Yeah, that's a $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say that more than 1 million.
Yes, more than 1 million for sure. And I find it really shocking that airlines are not more concerned with the storefront. Because your storefront, your shop, your website, and of course your mobile app and everything related to it, that's your shop window. That's your your way to really show what's so special about you. And of course we touch on another problem, and that is that so many airlines, of course, get the e-commerce or the storefront for free as part of the PSS package.
Oh, really?
Well, it is typically included in the PSS package, yes. But of course, and that's
the stuff that you get for free, usually it's too expensive.
Yes, and of course, that was what I was going to say. Of course, it's not free, because if it takes a long time to make changes, what is the cost of doing nothing? I mean, that's also a very, very interesting cost to look at. Yeah, that is lost opportunity. And of course, if you're going to sit around and just wait for something to be developed, every minute of that, you need to be agile, and you need to be, like you said, you need to test something new every week. You need to do lots of A/B testing in parallel. You need to try it out on different routes and different markets and what can work. So agility is extremely important. But I also think that this thinking that the storefront doesn't matter, that probably comes from, I remember when many years ago when I worked for one airline, direct sales was around 10%. And everyone in the organization was saying, oh, it's so unimportant, we'll never grow, it will always stay at 10%. I mean, I've even had a boss who said, this internet thing is really just a phase. And of course, the pandemic has resulted in direct sales going up to levels of 70 to 80% for legacy carriers.
It's different.
So you have a totally different environment today. But it seems like I don't know. It just seems
suddenly the direct sales, the e-commerce channel matters. Is that what suddenly
I think the realization that the e-commerce channel matters, and I think it's almost like where if they're not panicking, they should be panicking, because they need to address this. They need to do something, and of course, if you do something to your website and your channel, that means that you can simplify processes. And of course, then you reduce cost for everyone. If you can easily change your tickets or, buy, like you say, whatever products you need to buy, or you have chatbots and you can communicate with your airline, in a very professional way, you have a good communications platform. That, of course, reduces time and reduces cost.
Would you say that NDC, one or this type of move towards something which is more modern, more aligned with today's technology? Do you think is that the solution to that? Is this going to fix everything, or we still have a long time to
Yeah, well, I mean, NDC has been talked about for over 12 years or so. And the question is, it's really funny. What do we? Very often when people ask me about NDC, I always say, what do you mean yourself? How do you interpret NDC? What does it mean to you? And to me, it's about, and I've written an article on that, that it's about reducing cost. It's about control, and it's about content. And for me, the important thing about NDC is content, to be able to sell actually to everyone in the same way that you want to sell on your own website. That's usually my explanation for, my dummy explanation or whatever. NDC should be the enabler for you to sell in the way that you would like to sell on your own website. But then again, we come back to that 85% are unhappy with their website. So you really need to up your game when it comes to your website, right?
Now I recall that you've mentioned before that there was some sort of, some airlines could have been sort of kidnapped in their knowledge. It's like, okay, we outsource everything outside, so we don't know how to run it. Is that an issue, do you think?
Yes, I think it's an issue because again, and I've seen it. I've seen it happen. I've seen airlines who think that, okay, everything is going to be fine if we just hire some people from let's say telecom, or we hire some people from other industries, and they will come in and tell us how do we transform, how do we do this. The problem is that, of course, you have, as you know, processes in the airline. How can I work with tickets? Can I incorporate them into an order? And of course, these people that you hire from telecom, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't hire people from telecom, that's not what I'm saying, but you have to have the people with the knowledge of your own processes in order to be able to change them. Because if you don't know that, you don't know how it works. Can I get rid of, I buy something called MIDT data. Why do I do that? What is it used for? It's actually quite shocking when you talk to people and they say, oh, I don't really know why do we have this process? So that would be the first thing I would do. I would identify all the processes. Why do we do this? Why do we do it in this way? And can it be simplified? We actually started a debate this week on the famous or infamous YQ surcharge, which was introduced as a fuel surcharge. And it's ridiculous that something so archaic and outdated is used today.
And what about the parallel option? It's like shouldn't we be able to do, okay, just keep on running it like you want, but let me, just give me 5-10% of your operations, and I will try to run it in a brand new way, with fresh new approach.
Yeah, that's another thing that surprises me, that airlines typically write 4,000 requirements in an RFP, but they don't do POCs much, right? They proof of concept. They don't go out and say, show me how this can be done. I don't want any PowerPoints. Show me how you do this in real life.
Well, you just told me that to be able to offer one neck pillow, you need that, like 6 months. What type of
if you want that neck pillow change probably in your PSS, then you will be looking at that kind of time frame. Absolutely, because you're looking at systems that are not designed to be retail systems. So if you have a retailing system and a retailing platform, it's a different story. Of course, you can introduce a neck pillow. You can introduce it, this afternoon. It's no problem. It's not a problem at all.
So give me some hope. Please tell me, what are we going to be looking at that will give us some hope in terms of being agile? This is a great industry.
Yes.
We are very well positioned, you know. But when you start thinking of traveling because of business or because of leisure,
Hmm.
but one
Hmm.
of the first things you go to is you go to your airline website and you look for destinations and budget and stuff like that. And we
Yes.
are so well positioned to capture a big chunk of this business, right?
Yes.
And it seems that we are like, oh, we can't. So tell me, give me some hope if you can about
Yeah.
what we are going to be looking in the future as the solution for all this.
Yeah, and of course it is an amazing it's an amazing industry. It's an incredibly sexy industry, isn't it? So of course if I was selling, I don't know, building parts or I don't know, wooden planks, it's not very sexy, is it? But here we're selling dreams, we're selling so much, right? Of what people, and you know, visiting friends and relatives and the whole, all surrounding travel is so much about dreams. And of course there's hope, and I think that's something that's really been, you know, what I like about what's been changed is that I would say in the last year or so is that it's become more pragmatic. There is not so much about discussing forever with consensus how we're going to change things. There's not so much talk about schemas anymore. There is, and that of course is so hilarious when people say, "Oh, NDC is just a schema," you know, it's just a schema. And you go, is that really a purpose at the end of the day, a schema? It's not really the purpose. The purpose is that what are you trying to do? And you want to retail, and you want to have people, I would say you want to build trust with your, you know, with your website. You need to build your brand, you need to build loyalty, you need to build the trust. And of course, if I can go to my website, my airline website, and really believe that I will get a good deal on hotels, for example. Just imagine that trust. And especially if I choose to, I'm not going to go to any other website for this purpose. Of course, there's hope. So I think that airlines are starting to realize that they don't need to do everything. You know, they don't have to. They can have systems that treat the PSS as inventory, and then have other systems that can take care of, let's say, demand, revenue management, take care of the order, take care of the retailing. They can certainly do that. And I think that realization is there, that it's doable. We see airlines that are moving into a marketplace mindset. And of course, there's always leaders, and then there will be followers.
Okay.
And I think the discussions have become more open. Don't you find that, Enric? That
Yeah.
people are talking more, you know?
Well,
It
here we
used,
are talking,
oh,
right?
here we are, we're talking. But don't you find that I find that the conversations on LinkedIn and various different platforms has become very open. Oh, it was so hush hush only, let's say, 3 years ago or
Yeah,
4 years ago. It's become
I
much
agree with
more
you.
open. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
There is hope.
you just made me picture, you know, the every time that I plan a trip with my daughter, it's like, well, do I have to fill in the details again for the hotel or for everything? I just did it for my
Yes.
for my flight, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah, 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 yeah.
and that's
Just
the real reason why I keep buying on Amazon because they have my credit card.
yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And of course, it's doable to do the same thing with flights and trips, and
We have a
of course,
great prescription power in our hands, and we should be
yeah,
able to use it, and the
yeah,
industry needs that. Great.
of course.
And one last question that I always ask, which is your exciting project right now? What are you excited about? What are you doing now that keeps you awake?
Well, I'm certainly very involved in order. And as you know, I'm consultant with Leap Shift. We're a small consultancy, but we help airlines, well, not only airlines, any kind of travel brand or anyone really who needs help in anything related to distribution. But definitely order excites me because we are seeing more and more airlines realizing that, hey, I need to do something about this. I also really like what I'm seeing in the progress, should we say. I think that's a good result from the horrible pandemic, the progress or the different thinking in revenue management, that it's not all about historical fares anymore. That excites me, a new sort of mindset when it comes to revenue management. Another thing that excites me is something that Air Canada they really are a forerunner in many ways. They've started talking about maybe agents being able to service bookings or orders with Air Canada directly. Why do we need systems to be so very boxed in? Could this be an opportunity? Could actually travel agents be more like, they would actually source content directly and not going through BSP, etc. I think the payment structure on the BSP side is, that is also a huge chunk in the sort of relationship between travel agency and airline that can be changed. So I do.
A lot of things to do, right? It's like
Yes.
like.
Yeah.
Well, the good point is that there is a good area for improvement, right? And,
Yes.
and hopefully we'll be working on that and helping the industry go across that. Well, and thank you very much. It's been really a pleasure to sort of the work that you has given us, through the legacy into the new world. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with us, and we'll meet soon.
We'll meet soon. Thank you very much,
very much.
Henrik.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I hope you liked the episode, and if you did, please like, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned for more. Bye.